Call this meeting to order.
Recording in progress.
This is the County Commission meeting dated March 22nd today at 10 o'clock. We welcome you all here, and it's good to have you. We are going to start this meeting today with a Pledge of Allegiance by Jennifer Graham, an invocation by myself, and a thought of the day by Commissioner Jim Harvey. So, Jennifer, if you'd come up and start that, we'd appreciate it.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Turn my phone off so it doesn't ring in the middle of this prayer. Our dear Heavenly Father, as we come before Thee this time, prior and at the beginning of this County Commission meeting, we give You thanks for the blessings in our lives. We're grateful for the opportunity we have to serve the citizenry of our county. We pray that Thou would bless the three of us, that we can do it the way it should be done, that we'll be aware of our responsibilities and the best desires of our citizenry, and in accordance with the law. We pray Thy Spirit will attend us this day in this meeting, that the things we say and do will be appropriate. We ask, Lord, this day that Thou would bless those in our communities that serve in the armed services and are ill and not doing well, that Thou would attend them and bless them the best possible. We approach Thee this day and pray that Thou would bless this world with peace and righteousness as we watch the conflicts that are abroad right now. We worry about the future of our nation and our economies and the well-being of those who live in the communities overseas in Russia and Ukraine. We pray Thy blessings to be with them, that they can somehow end this conflict. Lord, this day we plead to Thee for help for our water. We've had just a poor winter so far, and we need a wet spring. So we pray that Thou would bless us with moisture. Right now, it is so necessary, and we pray and plead for that. Ask Thy Spirit to be with us this day now, and we do it in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Commissioner Harvey, you are the thought of the day.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. I'd like to have you join me in this thought of the day with remembering, years ago, actually 90 years ago today, Mom and Dad Belknap gave birth to their son, Dutch. It's his 90th birthday today, and I've known Dutch for quite a long time, but as I talked with you, Commissioner Jenkins, just briefly, you had some memories of Dutch to some of the accomplishments. You, Commissioner Furr, I'd like to go to you, then I'll wrap up if that's okay. Commissioner Jenkins, what do you remember about the Dutchman?
About the Dutchman? Well, it starts out as early in my life. I was probably a young teenager, 13 or 14, and I used to babysit Dutch's kids. Him and his wife would go out, and he had all boys, and my good night, they were rambunctious souls. And he'd ask me, he said, I can't get a girl to come babysit these boys because they need a firm hand. And so I'd go over there and babysit those boys for him, and they were good kids, all of them. And then later on in my life, he was coaching at WEBER High School, and of course, and teaching, and so I had a lot of interaction with him up there. He's a wonderful individual. And finally, early in our business career, we got in a little trouble with First Security Bank. They had our business loan, and we bought Don's Plumbing Supply, and made a financial commitment there. And man, the bank was mad at us. They were unhappy that we made that move without consulting them. And you know, when you're early in business, your banker is as important to you as your wife is. And you got to make sure your banker's happy as well as you make sure your wife's happy. And we crossed the line there. They were not happy with us. And anyway, they started wrenching it down. And we didn't know what to do. It was not a bad business decision, but they didn't care, good or bad. We crossed the line because we didn't ask their permission, and they were the one making the loan. So anyway, we undid it, but that wasn't good enough. They didn't want us anymore. They were getting rid of us. And we sat and talked about this one day, and I says to my brother Glenn, I says, you know, Dutch Belknap's over here at First Security Bank. He sits right in that office on the corner where
Yeah, Mariner Eccles used to be
not
here.
Mariner, but well, anyway, one of them sat.
I thought it was Mariner anyway.
And I says, let's go over there and talk to him, Glenn. So me and Glenn came over and talked to him. Of course, he knew us. So when we walked in, we told him what had happened. He says, let me see what happened. And he said, I'll get back to you. So a couple weeks later, he got back to us, and he says, well, boys, how he talked. He said, let me tell you what happened. He said, basically, you guys jumped in the pool that said no swimming. And he says, you jumped in there anyway. And you did it without any swimming suits on, and everybody looked at you and watched you. And he says, you shouldn't have done that. So he says, let me tell you what I'm going to do for you. He says, don't you say anything. Just keep doing what you've always done. And he says, 3 or 4 weeks from now, that loan's going to end up in the Ogden portfolio instead of the Salt Lake portfolio. And he says, this will just go away. So he says, don't you boys say one word to anybody. Boy, we just zipped it up. We didn't say a word. And sure enough, we just kept making our payments. This is what we're supposed to. And 3 weeks, that loan ended up in Ogden instead of Salt Lake, and those guys didn't even miss it. And that's just kept us going. And today we're a big, well, we just hit $100 million. And we wouldn't have done that without Dutch Belknap. That's how important he was to our company. He was important to the very existence of it. And I'm just telling you, we have a great deal of respect and admiration for what he did for us. He put his neck on the line. And I'm talking big time, because they were unhappy with us in Salt Lake. And Dutch just snuck that out of here into Ogden. Everything continued on. There was no problem. But, whew, that was a tough time in our life. And we owe him everything as far as the company. That's how important he was.
Great.
Yep.
Commissioner Frohr, any memories?
Well, I don't have any personal financial stories, as Commissioner Jenkins shared, but yeah, Dutch has been around this community, I think, probably one of the most recognized people in this county for a number of years. And so, yeah, I start off remembering him. He was a coach at WEBER High School, basketball coach. Later on, he was a college coach for a period of time for Utah State. And I remember that his record at Utah State at that point in time was, I think, wins exceeded losses, and had some pretty good teams through that period of time. But I also remember him at the First Security Bank building and walking into that, and remember there was offices on top of that first floor at that point in time, title companies, there was dentists in there, there was a lot of different businesses. So when you'd walk in there, Dutch would be sitting there, and it'd always take an opportunity to go say hi to him, because if not, he'd come out and talk to you. I think he became a very important part of this community, not just from the sports side, but from the business side, as Commissioner Jenkins said, with First Security Bank. And it was right across the street. Some of us remember walking into that lobby. And
That's right.
and hopefully one of these days we'll get to walk in there again and see something very similar to it.
Yeah, coming up. Thanks to George. I'm going to take a little different turn. Of course, I remember yelling and screaming at Dutch when he was a coach at Utah State, because he was coaching the team that was playing against my favorite college team, Weber State. But later, you'll remember the statement made in the paper, it's Dutch time, when he became the athletic director for Weber State University. I think he succeeded Gary Crompton then. But more importantly, from the terrace to the different places, when I was a young boy, I grew up just down the road from Dutch, and he's always kind of been in and out of my life a little bit here or there. You know, he was a kind of a high roller, and I was just a little short, fat, believe it or not, curly-headed kid.
Curly-headed?
Yeah, that was curly-headed, like a Greg Brady. That was the popular thing to do back in the 70s, in case some of you don't remember. But
Doesn't that cause your hair to eventually go away?
well, I wouldn't think. It does. It does. Brill cream never worked well. Anyway, but I remember when I was first, I'd never having been in politics before, when I said, hey, look, I'm going to try my hat at this. And Dutch called me up and gave me a lot of reassurance, and he gave me he takes all these license plates, and he bends them in just a way, and puts an antler, the tip of an antler on it for the handle, and he makes these license plates and turns them into dustpans. He says, you take this and you go clean up out down there at the county. And I've never forgot that. He's been a dear friend. I've traveled a little bit with him, and he's as casual and smooth as they come. Never been a perfect man, but he sure loves his community, and he loves Weber State, and he loves Ogden. He loves the people here. And so we want to wish you one day, it's nice to be able to talk about Dutch, why he's still alive, instead of memorializing. He's 90 years old today, and for those who are interested and want to say hello to Dutch at the Weber State University Lindquist Alumni Center, at 4 o'clock, 4 till 6 o'clock, they're honoring Dutch in his 90th birthday, so appreciate that. So those are my thoughts today, just remembering a friend.
Wonderful thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. We appreciate that. All right. Pardon?
They're here.
Yeah. I assume that. So we have a presentation to make today. This is recognition of the Ogden Nordic program for extraordinary volunteer efforts in North Fork Park. Jennifer Graham and Todd Ferrario, please.
I think I'm taking this one.
Oh, are you? Okay,
Yeah.
Todd, go
Taking
ahead
for
and
the
take
team.
it.
So let me introduce, these folks are from Ogden Nordic. So we have their chair, which is Jerome Berg, board member,
Joe Postenbaugh.
and their executive director, Trish Painter. Operations manager, the boss.
Oh, you just gave her a promotion.
Okay. Double her volunteer salary. No. So I would like to turn a minute over to Jerome. He has a couple words to say. In Culture, Parks, and Recreation, and especially in Parks and Rec, we have a number of partner organizations that allow us to do what we do. Ogden Nordic for decades has been a phenomenal partner at North Fork Park. They do the grooming for cross-country skiing, fat bikes, snowshoeing, and if you are interested, Jerome is actually going to give you a presentation packet to look at later. I think the numbers that use that park is phenomenal, and they've increased multitudes over the last couple of years. So as Parks and Rec director, and you guys jump in, a phenomenal partner that really does a bang-up job for the community. So, Jerome?
Put me on the spot. So there's actually 3 more board members.
Could you step
Come
up
to the mic and pull that to you.
There's 3 more board members. Matt Negley, professor at Weber State, is our treasurer. Helene Liebland is our secretary, and Al Rewright is our grooming manager. So there's 6 of us that run the operation. And Kristen Bell, I'm sorry, ski school. There's 7 people. Thank you, Trish. Appreciate also Todd. He's been a wonderful supporter and liaison with us, and we all love Ogden Nordic. I think this year has also been special because we've managed the yurts that are up there that you've put in place, and that's been a wonderful experience. Trish has been in charge of that. And then we got just a short little presentation with a lot of pictures that you can look at your leisure, but we want to thank you and all the support that you've given us up at Ogden Nordic. Thanks.
Thanks to you.
Lots of pictures to look
Yeah.
I
And I'll
love
just
that.
jump in on the yurts.
Yeah, that's what we
Yeah.
need. Thank you.
As you gentlemen know, we got the state grant to put 3 yurts in. So we went to Ogden Nordic and Trish especially, since she does operations. They did our beta test this year. And really, our weekends were packed. We had a few stumbling blocks. We do have a bathroom that we're operating in the wintertime, put some heaters in, had a frozen pipe or two, had some issues with Liberty Water. One of the valves leaks that drains our tank, which in the summertime, we don't know that because the water's flowing continuously. And really was a phenomenal partnership that we could work with them and take something that we thought was close to right and really make it right. And I think the experience for the community and the people that stayed in there was second to none for a wilderness yurt in the middle of the wintertime. Was phenomenal. So, questions, gentlemen?
Well, I had, my brother called me the other day, or I called him. We were sitting talking, and he says to me, he says, so you know where I am right now? I says, no, I don't know where you're at right now. He says, I'm up at North Fork Park. And he says, I'm cross-country skiing. And I says, no kidding. I says, the phone worked up there? And he says, well, here I am talking on it. And it's like, wow, no kidding. He says, this is great, what they do up here. And so I'm telling you, that's even my own family that's affected. You guys do a
Well,
wonderful,
we appreciate
wonderful
your
job.
support, and we think it's a really positive thing for our community, because there's other programs, like we hosted the Special Olympics snowshoe competition this year, and it was a very valuable opportunity for some of these people with challenges to get out and enjoy the outdoors. We have ski school programs where at a very reduced rate, we're talking, $20, $30, you can go up, you can rent equipment, and it gets young people out there. With COVID right now, it's really increased the number of people that are coming to the outdoors. And so, if one thing I'd really like to leave you with is, we're a volunteer organization, right? I mean, people, we do this for the love of the outdoors, right? And so I'd really like to thank Todd and the county for their support, helping us with the parking lots, helping us to improve our venue so that we're able to serve more people, because it really has expanded a lot. And it's really a gem that we have here in the county. So thank you for your continued support and everything you do for us.
Commissioners, would you like to make comments before we make this presentation?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I would. Yeah, I would, since that is in somewhat my neck of the woods, and I've had the opportunity to be up there for a number of years, in the last few years, enjoyed the cross-country skiing up there with my wife, Gloria, which we enjoy cross-country and every now and again. It really is, I would agree, it's a gem for our county. And especially with what we've gone through with COVID, people looking to get outdoors, to recreate. It's just another opportunity for the citizens in Weber County to enjoy our natural resources. But without your volunteer group, and again I stress volunteer, this wouldn't happen, because from county resources, we just would not have the availability to do what you do as well as you do it. So I just want to tell you thank you for the entire county.
For years, I've been familiar with your organization, probably 20, 30, almost 30 years. Jen, wouldn't that be safe to say?
Back to curly hair?
Yeah, no, not that far back. Maybe receding.
Okay.
You got to go a long ways to get that.
2008 is
Yeah.
when they started.
I recognize that that you all have contributed in your professional lives, and now you're continuing to give back to the community. I appreciate you guys, what you've done, your organization, what you've done. You've made a wonderful difference for a lot of people here, and a wonderful positive difference. You're willing to flex, compromise. The organization that you run currently, partnering with the government agency, is crafted specifically and tailored uniquely to things that don't happen in other parts of, not only in the county, but in the state, in the country, really. And as we as county leaders attend state and national functions, I often speak of your organization as one of those shining star partnerships that are just, people try to recreate those kind of things. And we realize that it's the people behind that that have really made this work. It's one of the greatest, in fact, we heard from Mayor Caldwell, that's the finest bike course and place to go that there is in the whole northern part of Utah. And of course, he was the one that biked to work every day for a year, so I just really appreciate that. And Todd, you've also brought the mark up a little higher. You're so good at what you do, and we're so lucky to have you there. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. That would be my comments, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Well, we're going to present you with a certificate here, and it says Certificate of Appreciation. This certificate is presented to Ogden Nordic with sincere appreciation for your extraordinary volunteer efforts and partnership with grooming the trails of the North Fork Park, and it's from the County Commission. So, Commissioner Harvey, this is in your portfolio.
Oh, you're the chair. You're good.
Well, it's okay. We'll go down with
Great.
you, but we want you to make the presentation.
We're gonna do pictures.
Pretty in the middle.
Todd, we want you in there.
On behalf of the board, the County Commission,
Thank you. We do appreciate you volunteering.
Thanks for letting us do it.
Let me put
Things in the middle.
Yeah.
You guys.
It's a good-looking group.
That's all the exercise you get out of the park, In our new year.
And thank you again, guys, very much.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you, Todd. Thanks for all you do, Todd. Greatly appreciate it.
Teamwork.
What I'd like to know, have any of you guys stayed in our yurts up there yet?
Pardon me?
Have any of you stayed in our
Well, I
yurts?
talked to my wife about it, but since we only live 2 miles from there, she tells me she'd much rather sleep in her warm bed up than be in the yurt.
True.
I've spent a lot of time up there this year.
Those yurts are pretty cool, aren't they?
With the parks guys, who are so responsive when we have problems. So
That's great.
No.
we've done it with them.
Thank you.
And they're really very comfortable, and they're a great addition to the park.
Yeah, that's what we think. We're real excited about them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to make a little different on this consent calendar today. We're going to go to that. That's next up. This turns out to be a tongue twister every time you go through all these numbers. So our attorney says we can simply say, request for approval of warrants in the amount of $1,703,246 is listed. That makes it a lot easier, don't it?
Box of biscuits.
Yeah, box of biscuits. So that's the way we're going to do it. Number 2, request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $491,526. An Amber Alert. Number 3, request for approval of minutes for the meetings held on March 15th, 2022. Number 4, request for approval of new business licenses. Number 5, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Northridge High School to hold the Northridge High School prom at the Golden Spike Event Center. Number 6, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Fremont High School to hold the Fremont High School prom at the Golden Spike Event Center. Number 7 is request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Forest Products for filming at the Weber County NHL rink and locker room. That's a unique one, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Number 8, request from the assessor's office for approval to surplus 2 Toyota Priuses. Commissioners, any questions on those?
Not for me.
No questions, and thanks to Miss Rollins, who's present today. She gave me the background on the filming for the Weber County. Just another accolade to add to our portfolio. So
That's
she's done
good.
such a wonderful job.
Mr. Ricky Hatch, would you like to go over these warrants?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
We issued 13 purchase orders this week for $492,000. 84% of that amount, or $415,000, is for the transfer station that will go towards purchasing a new compost screener. And then 5%, or $26,000, is for the elections office, which will go towards purchasing a refurbished envelope processing piece of equipment. As far as warrants, we issued 194 warrants for $1.7 million. 24% of that amount, or $414,000, is for the jail. That was mostly nursing services, but also some significant spending on food, building maintenance, as well as some inmate counseling. 23%, or $390,000, was for the transfer station, primarily disposal fees, but also some equipment parts and maintenance. 13%, or $220,000, goes towards paramedic services. 12%, or $207,000, is the monthly contribution to the Weber Human Services Organization. 8%, or $130,000, went to public defender services, and then 6%, or $94,000, went to our tourism. Came out of our tourism fund to go to the contracted payment with the Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Thank you, Mr. Hatch. Questions for Ricky, either of you?
No questions?
None for me.
Then I'm ready for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd move to approve consent items 1 through 8 as listed on the agenda.
Second?
Very good. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. It's approved, unanimous. Very good. Item G1, action items. Request for approval of the North Fork Master Plan update. Mrs. Jennifer Graham.
Thank you, Commissioners. We've got this presentation here.
Wonderful.
I'm not sure exactly how to start it on the screen up above, though. Bill, is that? Oh, there we go. Sorry, it's been a minute since I've been in here. Well, we'll just start with that, so. Okay.
So you're calling this the Holy Grail?
Yes, the Holy Grail. This is kind of our very casual update to the North Fork plan. And we have been to you guys in a work session and presented this to you. We wanted to make it official and have it approved in commission meeting. We have made a few tweaks, as we discussed, after our work session. So we're just going to run through this and talk about North Fork Park real quick. North Fork Park is a Four Seasons natural park that strives to provide the public with recreation and relaxation opportunities while still preserving the park's peaceful, serene environment and vital natural resources for future generations. We're going to stay on track with this mission statement by keeping some operational philosophies in our focus. We're going to exercise thoughtful planning, appropriately modernize while maintaining the integrity of the wilderness surroundings, incorporate a mindset of wisely accommodating multiple users throughout the park. This last group that was just here, Ogden Nordic, is just one example of how we try to do that. Actually, even including the fat bikers with the snowshoeing and this cross-country skiing. Remain environmentally conscious with wise execution of planning to preserve resources, and educate users on efforts they can take for wise stewardship of the park. One of the programs Todd is working on now is signage to accommodate that type of stuff, communicating. Because the signage has to be done correctly, nobody wants to read a sign. So the projects that we have on the radar for 22 through 27, these are the things that we're working on. And I'm not sure how much detail you want me to get into this, since each of you have already been through this. If you want me to read bullet point by bullet point, or if you'd rather have me just...
Finish your presentation, if you would, if that's okay, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So the trails in the park, our efforts to that are going to be to investigate possible mountain bike specific training courses, or excuse me, a training course separate of the current trail system. This is something Todd has a area in mind where he can keep a lot of, especially like the mountain bike high school teams, into a particular area and off the main trails with some of the, since there are such a multitude of abilities using the trails. Installation of a tunnel to connect the upper park with the lower park for trail users. This would be tunneling under the road to connect the two areas, and can be done fairly reasonably as the costs are concerned.
With the culvert?
Yeah, they're gravel roads, so we went to find a pricing, and yeah, we can dig them up, roads can dig them up, we can set them back in and re-put the road back fairly inexpensively, and it opens up about 65 or 70 acres that are a little unusable right now. We're getting too many places where we're crossing roads with walkers and bikers, so we need to look at safety as well. So.
Wonderful.
As far as the Ogden Nordic activities in the park, we actually have submitted and got a ramp grant to help us redesign the South Gate entrance to accommodate more parking, so that will be done this year, and investigate the feasibility of a potential year-round building for recreation programming at the South Gate. That will be another project that we work with Ogden Nordic for their wintertime use of that facility, and then we will do some programming all year long, so that it's year-long use. We are moving forward with some marketing of the park, kind of looking at marketing it as a hashtag North Forkin. We also have some other ideas out there, and I will have to forward you the artwork that we've had drafted for that. I should have included it in this presentation. It's really good. So I apologize for that. Camping in the park, we're looking at the improvement of 30% of the individual campsites for leveling and width, accommodating some of the larger vehicles, RV vehicles of the day, but also realizing that some people, not every campsite needs to accommodate a 30-foot RV. So do some online reservation systems for approximately 25% of the individual campsites. We've begun to identify exactly which campsites will fall within that reservation system. We have the Yurt Village expansion. We have completed 3 yurts, as you know, and we are going to be moving forward with 3 other either yurts or possible tree houses. So we have some South Bowery group site refinement that needs to be done, improvement to the Middle Gate individual campsites to accommodate the limited mobility. We also have some funding for this already, but due to labor restraints of last year and cost increases, we had to put that on hold and just do a little bit of tweaking to that.
But Commissioner Jenkins, just so you know, roads is available this year. We couldn't use them last year.
Right.
So I've met with Joe, and they're on board to hit this at the very 2 weeks following the end of our busy season. So we'll be able to do that in-house, which will also save us probably 20 to 40% on just the asphalt piece. That's what was hurting us. So.
Good.
We are going to replace and relocate some fire rings as necessary. This will be in an effort to, assuming we get to have fires this year, make sure that they're as safe as possible and away from shrubs. And develop 6 to 8 easy access backcountry backpacking sites that you will see probably within the next few years. When it comes to dark skies in the park, we are working with, or Todd is working on getting the installation of dark sky friendly solar lights at the restrooms. And we are working with the Ogden Valley Starry Nights for the installation of Pluto for the Ogden Valley Solar System display as part of the overall display in the valley. Resource management in the park, we have the addition of water isolation shutoff valves within the park water system. And they are moving forward with the improvements at Utaba Reservoir for the expanded use. And Todd, you have a little bit of an update on that.
Yeah, so I'm sure you guys know we have been moved to the to-do list as far as the improvements for the reservoir and the dam. So that.
Utaba?
Yes. They're looking at raising the level of that dam between 15 and 17 feet, which will make a really nice impact on the pond itself. So we've looked at some of our trails and what that will mean for us and the increased use in that area. So working with Gary Myers closely. We also have brought in the fire district with Captain Cooper, because that will also be a resource for them when they need to grab water on that north end, because they're pretty restricted on where they can helicopter buckets of water out. There's a private pond that's pretty nice to do it out of, but that pond at Utaba gets drained. It's got a couple leaks and some problems, so that will be a fire usage as well. So.
We are going to be investigating the possible introduction of vault toilets to day use areas of the park. There's some ordinances we would need to work through, but again, looking at the water conservation of the park, maybe that is going to be an area that we need to move to in the future. The roadways in the park, we are going to be looking at asphalt replacement and repair and installation in the key areas, the continual maintenance and improvements of all road-based roadways, and manage the runoff issues. And this really just speaks to kind of the philosophy that you guys have led us in, which is taking better care of what we have and being very mindful of what we're adding to our parks, or to our facilities in general. And then the management of the park, back to the ordinance, we are going to have to do a little bit of some updates to our ordinance. So just stepping back into the branding efforts to cultivate a reputation of the unique experiences that North Fork provides. And I think North Fork, there are some social media sites where North Fork gets a lot of attention for its mountain biking, fountain biking, and things. So we're just going to try and capitalize on that a little bit. We've got some hashtags such as hashtag North Forkin, Can't Stop North Forkin, Respect the Park, and Park in the Dark. And again, we'll be having the artwork relate to that and doing a little bit of retail, making a little bit of money off of some sweatshirts and hats and things. So the summer trails, we really have minimal plans for additional trail development. Our focus is on improving and maintaining the current trails to promote high quality multi-use trails throughout the park. Improvement and or replacement of the trail signage is in a continual motion. And so I think you all are pretty well aware what we're doing there. We are also keeping up to date as all the trails are developed. We work with partners, Trails Foundation Northern Utah, and we actually have an employee that gets very few hours, but he helps us keep our trails inventory up to date.
Right.
The winter trails, I think we've talked enough about that. That's the collaborative partnership with Ogden Nordic, and looking at that South Gate. Again, their trail map, their trail inventory map, and then making sure that we're able to communicate those both on-site and online. We have some URL codes that, or some QR codes that patrons are able to access. Our camping options. Camping is one area where we actually are able to generate our revenue, and that's where the majority of our revenue for North Fork comes from. So we want to be able to focus on that some. A portion of the sites will be improved to accommodate larger RVs. The online reservation system will be put into place within the next couple of summers. We actually were almost ready to roll that out in 2020, but due to COVID and the extreme demand that we saw, we decided to hold off, and it would have been a hard year to beta test that.
Yeah, it was tough. And just so you guys know, this will also encompass WEBER Memorial for the individual campsites. We have got the yurts ready to fire up for reservations on ours, and so next is individual sites. So.
We have an idea to develop some easy access backcountry backpacking sites for that off-the-grid experience. Just as many people are buying larger RVs, there's also a trend to the hammock type sleeping or the tents in the trees type sleeping. I'm sure you've all seen them suspended. So people want to get off the grid and just experience that. We're going to be experimenting with that a little bit. The South Bowery improvements to accommodate the multiple RVs. North Fork Park was designated a dark sky park in April of 2015. At that time, it was the 21st IDA park. There are now over 90 parks worldwide, and Utah has several of them. So we're almost kind of a connector between the parks in southern Utah and in Idaho. So we are going to try to work with the tourism board, or CVB, on that. But we also need to help work with the Dark Skies Association to keep our bronze accreditation. We struggle with it as there is the urban overflow of the light. So,
Yeah, the change in our light readings over the last 10 years have not been the effect of the park. They're the effect of the surrounding areas. So we work with them to do multiple times a year light readings, and we can see the change. So it's us also working with planning and the other people in the county to make sure that we're trying to limit that so we do not lose that accreditations.
yes, the development around the park and, again, the urban glow. So, and then we're also trying to be very mindful of the wildlife in North Fork Park. Habitat for wildlife is continually shrinking. I can at least provide a way station. And that's really, I mean, there is so much, if you've been to the park in the middle of the winter and back in there snowshoeing or cross-country skiing and seeing the moose and stuff back in that area, it's magnificent. So we're going to be pressing pause on further significant development in the park and to ensure that we have use balance that will allow the wildlife in the park to remain. Opportunities are given in North Fork Park. Again, you can get back into those countries year-round to experience that wildlife, so, and that unique winter setting. So in conclusion, what we'll be doing moving forward is just provide unparalleled proactive stewardship of North Fork Park, continually advocate for a multi-use park for residents and visitors, plan for and protect wildlife considerations within North Fork Park, and install practices that encourage all users to enjoy and appreciate the park.
Great.
Do you have any questions?
Commissioners,
It's wonderful.
this is in your portfolio.
Yeah, I think
Commissioner
it's,
Harvey.
that's why I wanted her to give the presentation, is to make sure that the two of you and everybody saw this, but also it lives on our web, our YouTube channel, and it's just another gem that Weber County has. That it's very well managed and done. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, and I hope what you're seeing through all of our work sessions is, if you look at some of our old plans, they were very specific for certain things. Well, a decade goes by and they're not relevant anymore. So we are fighting sometimes what is in writing to what we're trying to do because times have changed. So if you read this, this is really kind of an ethos that we will live by more than a specific target. Because if you look at the usage of the park now versus a decade ago, it's night and day. You know, Jennifer mentioned fat bikes in the wintertime. There was no such thing. So as these changed, we were handcuffed to try to stay within our own guidelines, but do what the park needed to have done. So this changes that Jen have done will give us a background to go through our regular process of approvals when we look at additions, but keep it within the scope of the park. So.
Very good. Commissioner Faur, comments?
I just say, great presentation, and more importantly, all the work you do up there, Todd and Jennifer, for that facility. Again, as we said it before, it's a very valuable asset for Weber County, and something that we just need to, as you said, stay flexible, because we don't know in 3 to 5, 10 years what that may look like. So, but we're here to accommodate what the citizens of Weber County want and what they're using. And obviously, if you take a look at the use, it's very much appreciated by the citizens.
Well, I think it's important to do this publicly, because they need to understand that when our crews go up there, unless it's maintenance, it's not just us always deciding, hey, let's tear this out and put something else in.
Yeah.
It goes through our bosses, and we go to work, with you guys and say, this is what we're thinking of. We get a lot of input, and with other divisions, whether it's engineering or, she mentioned tree houses. That's fun to go see Stan and say we want to do tree houses because they need to be safe. But the inputs from multiple divisions and departments in our county, so it's really a collaborative effort on everything we get the green light to do. So
Good. Great.
Very good. So Commissioner Harvey, this is your portfolio. Would you like to make the motion?
Thank you. I'd like the motion that we approve the master plan update as presented today. Thank you.
And I'd happy to second that.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. I would also like to comment here. Todd and Jennifer, you guys have done a great job. I'm just amazed at the different things you've done and how well they've been accepted. And the Yurt Village is one good example of that. And I just couldn't be happier with what you've done. You've done a magnificent job up there. And it's just, if people don't realize that this asset's there and they have the ability to use it, they're just doing it at their own loss, because there's a lot to do there.
Thank you.
Very good. Well, I have a motion and a second. We'll call. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's approved. Thank you. Very good. Next item on the agenda is Lilac Estate PRUD, consisting of 24 units. Felix Liverino.
Yes.
There you go, Felix.
That'll do. That's great. Thank you, guys.
That's good. We'll turn the time over to you.
Yeah, so the North Fork Park, beautiful place. I could go on, but I digress. And so what we have today is a request for final approval. It's a PRUD. Since April of last year, we have the authorized representative is Mr. Mel Peterson and Jennifer Cochran, who are here with us today, and then you have the owner, Mr. Val Sanders. They've been working on this since April of last year. Come to this point of getting approvals, which includes a subdivision improvement agreement with an escrow certificate, because what they'd like to do within the next week or so is actually record that development plan, get it totally finalized, start marketing these things. So this request includes that escrow certificate for $711,663.28. And what we've county staff has looked at is conformity with local and state ordinances, making sure we're going through those guidelines. This proposal does include some open space and some common area, so we've made sure that the CCNRs and the all those appropriate documents are in order. We've also made sure that they have the services available by way of culinary, irrigation, water, and also sewer services. And so yeah, we do recommend this final approval of this development with the really there's no conditions, but we do have some findings here that it complies with West WEBER general plan. It also complies with applicable county and state ordinances. And that concludes what I had to say, pretty short and sweet. Any questions?
Commissioners, any questions?
Not for me. You do have the developer here if you'd like to hear from him. I'm sure Mr. Peterson is never a loss for words.
Okay.
If he so desires.
Commissioner Harvey, do you have any questions?
I was thinking the same thing. I wouldn't mind hearing from the petitioner.
Well, here we go.
Here he comes.
Could you state your name, please?
My name is Melvin Peterson.
Thank you.
I'm a retired real estate broker. And I've been working with my daughter, and she's been working with Felix. And I appreciate, Felix, you working with her and helping her, and she's getting a real training. I believe this is my community, and I believe it serves a real need for what we've got there, and it's right next to a beautiful park that they're putting in on Staker ground. And we need desperately places for some of the younger folks in our neighborhood to live. And this will serve that purpose right now. So I appreciate if you could give us approval on it and we could go forward. I believe our money is in place. And yes, I am fairly loquacious, Gage. I also know, I'll put it on the record, I told him he'd make one hell of a good bishop, if you remember that conversation.
I do, yeah.
He's got a real knack with people, and I support all three of you very much, but probably a little more for Gage, because I know Gage. I did know Bill Knapp when I was going to high school, and he was quite the gentleman too. So I don't have anything else. You have any questions for us? We're ready to start. We've got a good contractor lined up, and we're ready to go to work.
I see no questions.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr.
Well-
Chair, I'd be happy to make a motion whenever
Sure.
you're ready.
Go ahead, Commissioner, I'm ready.
So I would move to approve the request for final approval of the Lilac Estates PRUD consisting of the 24 units. And let me just say, Mel and I do go a long way back. I think we've been in the real estate business about the time that dirt was invented in Weber County, he and I. So I just say I know that he has the best interest of the community at heart. We talk about affordable housing, and I think this gives an opportunity to serve that area that in our housing sector that's needed very badly. So again, I'd move to support, and that would be my motion.
Very good, I have a motion.
And a second.
And a second. No real comment. This has gone through the process, and I agree with it. So I'll call it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's approved. Thank you very much. Very good. So last item on the agenda is commissioner comments. Anybody want to say anything?
No, we're good.
You said enough?
I said plenty.
Really? Well, I'm taken back by that.
Yeah, I know.
In fact, I'm speechless to hear that, so.
Well, then how about a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.
Thank you.